But hey, it's not all that simple. But anyway, on to the next topic. So Utah football will keep their defensive coordinator Morgan Scaley, despite being suspended for use of a racial slur in a tweet or in a text message from years past. So Utah Athletic Director Mark Harlan, head football coach Kyle Whittingham, they announced Wednesday defensive coordinator Morgan Scaley will remain on the Ute staff after an investigation into his use of a racial slur in a 2013 text message to a prospective recruit. Brian Fisher of College Football Talk provided the full statement, which noted Scaley will be required to complete diversity and inclusion education. Oh my fucking God.
Oh man, hey.
I so hate the word diversity. I hate the words diversity and inclusion because it's such like a blanket statement. Diversity and inclusion. It's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway and saying, "See, we hit the mark." But whatever. So he'll be required to complete diversity and inclusion education, have his pay cut, and have his coach and waiting title removed, which I think is pretty fair. Now, I'm going to read this statement real quick. Damn. Okay. Therefore, we have determined that Coach Scaley will remain in his position on the football staff, but the seriousness of his actions warrants the following. Coach Scaley will engage with the leadership of the university's Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion team, including Vice President Marianne Vieira. I'm just going to say Vieira. Like Vieira, but just Vieira. He will participate in regular and ongoing diversity and inclusion education and will be expected to be a key partner in addressing issues of racism and bias in the Utah Athletic Department, the university, and a broader community. In December 2019, the university and Coach Scaley verbally agreed to a multi-year extension of his contract, increasing his annual compensation to $1 million. Instead, his new contract will revert back to his 2018 compensation level in the form of a 1-year term for $525,000. Damn. That's a bitch slap. That's a financial bitch slap. In December 2019, Director of Athletics Mark Harlan extended a verbal offer to Coach Scaley to become the head coach in waiting, which Harlan has now rescinded. When it rains, it pours. Bring a Snuggie. This is punishment I can get behind. Anyway, on to the statement. In our continuing efforts to work closely with our student athletes to address issues of systematic inequality and racism in society, $100,000 previously directed to Coach Scaley's compensation will be redirected to enhancing programming and staffing support to the athletic department's U.T.A.H group. Utah group, United Together Against Hate, a student-athlete forum launched early in 2019. Interesting. We recognize the magnitude of this decision and the incredibly complex nature of these issues. We are grateful to all who participated in the review and provided thoughtful and important information to evaluate. We also thank you for your patience during this process. Sincerely, Mark Harlan, Director of Athletics, Kyle Whittingham, head football coach. You know what? I'm gonna clap it up for him. Give him, one more clap it up. lost his head coaching and title. I mean, he coaches black players. So whatever he said in 2013, and he was actually a former All-American for Utah too, former safety. So he's born and bred in that program. To ever use a racial slur to a potential recruit should have got your ass fired. But hey, you lose your title. We hit your pocketbooks. And the money's going to a student, hopefully a student-run organization that is actually going to use those funds properly. Hopefully. And hopefully somebody black is in charge. Hopefully. But it's Utah, so not really the school, but just the state of Utah. Not very kind to black people all the time. But, hey, as far as this punishment goes, it's hard to argue against that. And stuff like this happens at the college football world all the time. I can think of a couple coaches who, actually one of which exposed himself as being kind of racist on Facebook, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, some of your coaches, you thought they were great coaches, but you realize they're kind of asshole people. Or they said something really stupid they shouldn't have said. And people are getting caught for it now. And people are coming out more and more and more. So, I'm just going to give a round of applause to people coming out and talking about the oppression they've gone through. Now, speaking of people coming out talking about their oppression, former Iowa running back Akram Wadley details racism, mistreatment at Iowa football as a living nightmare. This another story about Rob Goldberg, June 29th. Former Iowa running back Akram Wadley detailed his negative experiences at Iowa in a football post on Monday via pre-post game CEO Robert T. Green. Yeah. So in the post, he said he was the subject of racism and mistreatment at the hands of head coach Kirk Ferentz, offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz, and former strength and conditioning coach Chris Doyle, who was removed. He said, I felt like playing for Iowa football was a living nightmare. I never drank alcohol prior to going to college, but based on my experience there, it became the only thing I could rely on. Wait, hold on. Let me read that one more time. Start from the top. I felt like playing for Iowa football was a living nightmare. I never drank alcohol prior to going to college, but based on my experience there, it became the only thing I could rely on, it seems, and was what I did to cope. Game day was the only day that it was somewhat of a relief for me, but that even became difficult based on what happened during the week leading up to it. While they cited specific examples of abuse, including being berated by Brian Ferentz over a parking spot, he also said the offensive coordinator joked multiple times about the running back committing a robbery while wearing team-issued black hats, the Nike face protectors. And if you live in Iowa or Middle America, it gets cold in the wintertime and the fall. So those face protectors help when it's like 20 below. Additionally, he said Kirk Ferentz wouldn't let athletes speak their minds, while the head coach also prevented him from transferring when he wanted to leave. I remember that. He was not allowed to transfer. He definitely wanted to bounce. He finished his 4-year career with the Hawkeyes with 2,872 career rushing yards and 28 career touchdowns. Ironically, both of those in the top 5 in school history. Yeah, he was a problem when he played at Iowa on the field. Like, he gave defenses fits. Still, he explained that he has major regrets about spending time at Iowa. And he is being quoted as saying, my time at Iowa has done things to me that I am not going to discuss, because knowing how these people treated me and other black athletes, I'm done giving them power over me. But if I could do it all over again, I wish I never played for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I would not encourage any future athletes or parents to send your child to go play for the Iowa Hawkeyes under that current coaching staff. My experience with people outside of the program and the Iowa community are ones that I cherish and will be with me forever. Wow. My experience with people outside of the program in the Iowa community are ones that I cherish and will be with me forever grateful for. Okay, I didn't read that wrong. That just sounded weird. My hope is my story, and those are my teammates. Those of my teammates save others from the experience, truce, and mistake of playing under and for a coaching staff at Iowa that did and said nothing to stop the bullying and racism from happening to us under Chris Doyle, Brian Ferentz, and Kirk Ferentz. What you see on TV isn't what you get behind closed doors. And I talked about this in the past couple of weeks. There's too many tweets to literally go through, and IG posts. People have been coming out in the works about how bad Kirk Ferentz is, and I'm not surprised, because if you've ever seen those football movies like Varsity Blues, Remember the Titans, what I think it wasn't Gridiron Gang. It was it was about Texas A&M. It was a football movie about Texas A&M and how crazy it was. But there's a lot of football movies out there, and just you can ask some football players. When you have coaches who've been there 10, 15 years, there's a rot that sets in. Like, they can do no harm. They're, especially in Iowa. Like, what are they going to turn on Kirk Ferentz? It's not happening. And a lot of black players go to Middle America, go to these teams. They end up being stars, but then get treated like trash. And then they end up regretting their whole experience. It says a lot. It says a whole lot. But anyway, now here's a big story. Huge issues here. So I'm going to have to just sound the alarm. So Under Armour reportedly is trying to terminate their record $280 million contract with UCLA. Now, this broke on like June 27th. Mike Sciarri. This is just one of the sources I'm pulling from. There's a bunch of different stories about it. But according to Ben Bulk of the Los Angeles Times, UCLA athletic director, or former athletic director Dan Guerrero addressed the situation in an email to his constituents, writing, "We are exploring all of our options to resist Under Armour's actions." And a statement from UCLA, Under Armour. UCLA Athletics learned this week that Under Armour is attempting to terminate its 15-year apparel and footwear contract with us and the Bruin community. We are exploring all our options to resist Under Armour's actions. We remain committed to providing our hardworking staff and student athletes with the footwear, apparel, and equipment needed to train and compete at the highest level, as they and our loyal Bruin fans deserve. I remember when CSUN was sponsored by Under Armour, and then they went back to Nike. Interesting times. But anyway, UCLA and Under Armour, they agreed to a 15-year, $280 million deal in 2017, which was the largest shoe and apparel financial package in college sports at the time. And UCLA received $15 million in a signing bonus. Under Armour's attempt to back out of the deal isn't the first time it's retreated in recent years. They did it in a major league deal in 2016, Major League Baseball. It would have seen them become the supplier of on-field jerseys beginning in 2020. They backed out in 2016. The deal fell apart, however, and Nike swooped in to become MLB's jersey supplier instead. Under Armour was once the toast of the sports athletic industry, but it has fallen off in recent years. In February, Under Armour reported worse than expected numbers for the fourth quarter of 2019, which caused stock to drop considerably. If the Under Armour deal goes by the wayside, it will be a major blow to a UCLA athletic department that is struggling financially as well. In January, John Wilner of the Mercury News reported that UCLA Athletics had an $18.9 million deficit in the 2019 fiscal year and required a bailout.